Raider Nation, what is going on? Coming to you guys tonight because guess what, man? The Raiders are coming back in 2020. We're going to make a playoff run, but before we make a playoff run, we need to bring that defense back to what the Raiders defense used to always be. We've struggled in recent years, actually a lot of recent years, but with a few tweaks, we can make some stuff happen in 2020. And honestly, right now, looking at what I'm seeing, this is why I wanted to cover this video so bad, is there's a lot of opportunity to completely flip this defense. And of course, that's with veterans and a little help from the draft. Before I get into that, if you guys like my t-shirt, the Death Star, of course, our new stadium in Las Vegas, if you guys like that t-shirt, I'm going to drop a link in the bio. But mainly, the reason I'm bringing you guys here, because I want to tell you about my favorite spot now in Vegas, Stage Door Casino. Stage Door Casino is the Raider Bar. This is what I'm looking forward to whenever I'm making a trip to Las Vegas. I'm going to be there in a couple weeks. I'm going to be there for the draft. I'm going to be there every time I go to a game. Stage Door Casino is going to be the spot. The Vegas stuff, Vegas is fun, man. Vegas is cool and all, but this is the spot for Raider fans, man. They're going to welcome all of our wild style. They're going to like it to get loud. They're going to love the authenticity of Raider Nation. And they're going to welcome it. So I advise all of Raider Nation to visit Stage Door Casino anytime you're in Vegas. But like I said, let's make this Raiders defense great again. I'm going to tell you how. Let's get into it. So I'm going to break this thing down basically by position group, right? So I'm going to start with the defensive line. You got Max Crosby, who's an absolute stud out of the 4th round, runner-up to Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's only going to make that next leap. I've talked about it before. His body, he's a late bloomer. He's going to have a crazy body transformation. He's going to bulk up. He's going to be great in 2020. We had Jonathan Hankins, who emerged as a great veteran. I think he's only going to be maybe like 28 years old. A great defensive tackle in the middle, along with Mo Hurst, a guy like Mo Hurst, P.J. Hall. We've had those guys in the interior, and Cleveland Farrell. Those were like our 4 starters right here, our 4 starters in 2019. So for me, right, we're maybe, I forget what we spent, but we're like maybe the 26th highest paid defensive line unit in the NFL. We had the 24th most sacks, which was well over double from last year, which I'm not even complaining. I had a hot take that we'd triple last year's, and we almost dang near did. But I think we just take one more simple step. And I'm going to take this starting lineup from 2019, and I'm going to add Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy was a guy that's pretty much primarily been a linebacker. A guy that was a dual threat a little bit. He'd drop into coverage. He'd rush the passer. This last year, he primarily started rushing the passer, and that resulted in 60 total quarterback pressures, which was more than Max Crosby last season, and 8 sacks. So if you can find a way to line that guy up on passing downs opposite of Max Crosby, still rotate in Cleveland Farrell, maybe bring back a guy like Deion Jordan, still load up on interior defensive linemen, this defensive line in 2020 would absolutely wreak havoc. Now going from defensive line, we're going to jump into linebacker. Linebacker, Tier Whitehead, Vontaze Burfict. We had Will Compton kind of substituted in there along with Nicholas Morrow. Now, we spent the same. This is going to be a theme throughout the whole video. I don't think we spent in the top 25 at any position on defense. On linebacker, we spent the 29th most against the cap compared to every other NFL team, just like our defensive line. What do you expect whenever you're not spending that much money on a unit like linebacker? You're going to allow 10 passing touchdowns in a season, which is, I don't want to say absurd, but it's quite a bit. Our linebackers weren't the greatest in coverage, so there's room to improve. Now, I see a lot of room for improvement in free agency and a little bit in the draft. Now, you can do a few different things here. You can draft a guy like Kenneth Murray, who's a big Raider fan. You can sign a guy like Joe Schobert. Shout out to Grizz Turner, big Joe Schobert fan. Talked about him. Or you can make the big splash guys. You sign Corey Littleton, right? Sign Corey Littleton, put him in there. Maybe you draft Isaiah Simmons, big fan favorite, right? Well, for me, realistically, I know we're expected to cut Whitehead. I think we go in. I think maybe we can draft a guy like Patrick McQueen at 19, and we can sign a guy like Blake Martinez, who is an absolute tackling machine in Green Bay. And not only just that, as an absolute tackling machine, he led a defense that was really good for the Packers last year, and it really helped them, emerge a little bit into the playoffs. Was really great. A Green Bay defense that hasn't notoriously been that great, just like kind of the Raiders. He led them to do some big things. And a guy that I would love to bring in, because we're looking at Nicholas Morrow, a good gadget guy that didn't really you know, he wasn't quite what we wanted him to be in pass coverage. Maybe we can bring in a guy like Nigel Bradham, a guy that was just released, a guy that was maybe thought to make a little bit too much than he was worth at the Philadelphia Eagles. But Nigel came in, man, and he didn't give up any touchdowns. He had 3 pass breakups, and he allowed a passer rating of 88 out of 472. He took 472 coverage snaps last year. No touchdowns, 3 pass breakups, and allowed a passer rating of 88, which is better than all of our linebackers of last year. So that's what I go with right here. You draft Patrick Queen, you bring in Blake Martinez, a tackling machine, and a good middle linebacker, and Nigel Bradham. That's my linebacker setup. Now that's going to take us into corners. Now when you're looking at corners, we had Trayvon Mullen, who emerged later in the season. Darryl Worley, who got shifted around quite a bit because of all the changes, but he was originally the outside corner along with Garyon Conley, but then it was Darryl Worley, Trayvon Mullen. Marcus Joyner was the slot, and we had Nevin Lawson. Again, like I said, we didn't pay top 25. They were 26th. 26th highest paid corner group in the NFL. What do we expect to get? Well, we still have room to spend in the cornerback position. So I'm going to take this group right here. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Byron Jones. Byron Jones to, solidify opposite of Trayvon Mullen. And look, I love my guy, Darryl Worley. But when you can bring in a guy like Byron Jones that surrendered less than 2 catches a game last season, 30 receptions last season that's what he allowed. 30 receptions. That's less than 2 catches a game. That's absolutely amazing. Now you can go and you can re-sign my guy. I love Darryl Worley. Like I said, I love Darryl Worley. But then you also look at LaMarcus Joyner, who was bottom 5 in allowing receptions in the slot. He's very vulnerable in the slot. Now, whether that had to do with the scheme, whether it had to do with rushing the passer, getting pressure on the quarterback, I don't know. But obviously, LaMarcus Joyner struggled a little bit in the slot. We're not getting rid of LaMarcus Joyner. He's got like $11 million in dead cap this offseason. It's just not going to work to get rid of LaMarcus Joyner. But what we can do is bring in a guy like Darqueze Dennard. Darqueze Dennard was a heck of a slot guy. Now, he's had some injuries. And, he's been slowly getting a little healthier throughout his career. But that's going to be good whenever, you're in contract talks. You're not going to give this guy a lucrative deal if he's struggled with injuries. But he also allowed a passer rating of 79.6 last offseason last season, not offseason. A passer rating of 79.6 with 5 pass breakups. I don't know why. For some reason, I developed a speech impediment those last 10 seconds. But Darqueze Dennard, adding to a guy like Byron Jones, opposite of Trayvon Mullen, with a versatile LaMarcus Joyner to move around, with still Nevin Lawson in the works. That's how we shore up that secondary. Now, to finish off the secondary, we're going to close this thing out with safety, who Carl Joseph is obviously in the works, Jonathan Abram, and Eric Harris. I'm going to include Eric Harris into this thing because Eric Harris is a great leader in that secondary. I love what Eric Harris brings. Is he a starter? I'm not sure. We're going to find out this offseason. Whoever we bring in, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of competition for that starting safety spot. Jonathan Abram, for sure, is one of our guys. He's a starter. He's going to be the strong guy. He's going to get up in the box. He's going to be that all-around dude. Just like I said, he rushed the quarterback 3 times in his one game. He got like 2 quarterback pressures on him. He's going to be up in the box. He's going to get in quarterback's faces. He's going to drop into coverage. He's going to be hitting dudes. Carl Joseph, I'm not sure. I love Carl Joseph. Don't put this on me, but I just feel like Carl Joseph's not going to return. I feel like he's going to test the market. Maybe there's not much of a market, and then we get a chance to bring him back. But I feel like Carl Joseph's gone. So I think we just take one guy. We go all in. We need that ball hawk center fielder, Devin McCourty. We take this group, give it Devin McCourty with Eric Harris in the rotation at certain times. Devin McCourty last season, he allowed 1 touchdown. He had 5 interceptions. He had 2 pass breakups. He only allowed 19 receptions while in coverage. 19 receptions. That's a little over 1 catch a game, right? And an NFL passer rating of 41.8. Absolutely nuts. He's going to be 32, 33 years old, and that's okay. I think he's going to make maybe $10 million or something this last year. Give him $8 million, $9 million. 2 years. He still got it, man. Put a veteran back there, a champion. That's how we solidify the secondary. So, to wrap this thing up, to make this Raiders defense great again, like I said, we're gonna pay Byron Jones. We're gonna put him opposite of Trayvon Mullen. This is the whole layout. This is the whole defense right here. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I envision for 2020 to make this Raiders defense great again. You give Byron Jones $18 million. You give Kyle Van Noy to rush a passer for $15 million a year. You give Blake Martinez at least $12 million a year as a middle linebacker. You sign Devin McCourty at center field, $8 million, $9 million a year, right? Nigel Bradham, a guy who's highly underrated. You give him $6, $7, $8 million a year. You pay these guys. You bring them in. We're scheduled to make and look, I get it. You're like, okay, Cody, relax. We can't spend that much money. Well, we have the 12th most cap space going into 2020. We're supposed to have $50 million. We're not expected to bring back Tahir Whitehead. That's going to be $57 million in cap space for 2020. Now, whenever you look at contracts, just because of all these contract prices altogether, be between 57, maybe 58, 59 million altogether, just projected. Could be more, could be less. Who knows? About that same range in our cap space. But when you look at the cap hit in their first year with incentives, with bonuses, the way contracts are scheduled are structured, they're going to be in between the first year. Their annual salary could be maybe 2/3 of what it's worth. So a player that's maybe scheduled to get $10 million that year could only get 6 or 7 against the cap. So in all reality, all these players could only be counting maybe about $40 million against the cap, give or take. I'm not sitting here trying to do a bunch of math in my head, but it's not just because it's 57 annually, it's not going to be $57 million against the cap. So we still have plenty of room to add a piece or two on offense. And of course, there's, the stuff allocated for draft picks. So if we want to make this Raiders defense great again, that's what we got to do. Right there. Bam. This setup is that's how you do it. And of course, we still have our bench guys, guys that are going to rotate in. Guys like Markel Lee. Of course, I'm not counting out Cleveland Farrell because I have big hopes for Cleveland Farrell, and I think he has a big role in this defense. It's just going to be a special role. He rotates in as an interior guy on passing downs. But that's it. That's how we make this Raiders defense great again. If you guys like this show, make sure you subscribe, you hit that little bell notification. We're going to be dropping a lot of videos in the future. We have a lot of things going on. Also, for those that are going to the draft, stay tuned. I have a lot of information dropping. Keep Stage Door Casino in mind for Friday. Could be doing a live draft broadcast from there. So if you're going to be in Vegas, like I said, details will be coming soon, but I'll give you a little sneak peek. A lot of things are going to be happening. Make sure you like this video if you like it. Drop a comment on anything you'd like to see us do different on defense from what I just said. That's just my ideal outlook. I'm open to very many different opinions. Honestly, that's just if I was playing general manager, like Dana White's been doing lately. If I was playing general manager, that's what I would do. So, hey, like I said, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.